Okay, welcome back, warrior. We are now starting the last chapter of Mosiah. How exciting is that? And then we're going to be in Alma. So this is a very long chapter, so we got to get right into it. Here's the summary. It says, Mosiah purposes... Hold on, I'm going to need to... When I'm reading from these tiny words, I can barely see K. Mosiah purposes that judges be chosen in place of a king. Unrighteous kings lead their people into sin. Alma the younger is chosen chief judge by the voice of the people. He is also the high priest over the church. Alma the elder and Mosiah die. Okay. Sad times. You know, every time we get to know one of our scripture heroes, it's sad to see them die. Okay. And the cover on this Redheaded Hostess study guide is so sweet. Right? It's so cute. It looks just like the Alma that is in the Book of Mormon videos. And that Alma, fun fact, if probably by now, maybe they've changed the videos, but it was a while back. Well, actually, maybe no, because they've updated them with like stills of the videos. But anyway, this Alma is in our temple videos. So if you haven't gone to the temple in a while, go and check it out. Him and his cute wife are in there. And it's just really awesome that they chose Alma after doing those videos, because I'm pretty sure that the temple videos came first and then Alma became Alma in the Book of Mormon videos after. So anyway, I think it's super cool. I think it's kind of fun. So anyways, here we go. We have, okay, so we're starting the reign of the judges. So we're going to come back to that in a minute. Okay, verse 1. Now when Mosiah had done, hold on. Okay, so Mosiah 29 is one of the best places in all of Scripture to consider different ways a society can be governed and the influence of government on the people. King Mosiah is approaching the end of his life, and his father was also a king. King Mosiah understands and has a lot of experience with governing. He is going to offer his invaluable wisdom here. Love it. Okay. So now, verse 1. Now when Mosiah had done this, he sent out throughout all the land, among all the people, desiring to know their will concerning who should be their king. And it came to pass that the voice of the people came, saying, We are desirous that Aaron, thy son, should be our king and our ruler. Now Aaron had gone up to the land of Nephi. Therefore the king could not confer the kingdom upon him, neither would Aaron take upon him the kingdom. Neither were any of the sons of Mosiah willing to take upon them the kingdom. Therefore King Mosiah sent again among the people, yea, even a written word sent he among the people, and these were the words that were written, saying, yeah, it would be really hard to like try and be like, yeah, my bad, I forgot to tell you guys that my sons are like gone. They're missionaries and they cannot do the whole kingly thing. And that would be hard, I think, as a king, because I bet he wanted them to take over too, or at least one of them, you know. So here is his wisdom. Behold, O ye my people, or my brethren, for I esteem you as such. I desire that ye should consider the cause which ye are called to consider, for ye are desirous to have a king. Now I declare unto you that he to whom the kingdom doth rightly belong has declined, and will not take upon him the kingdom. So remember Aaron? Yeah, he doesn't want that. Now, and now, if there should be another appointed in his stead, behold, I fear there would rise contentions among you. And who knoweth but what my son, to whom the kingdom doth belong, should turn to be angry and draw away a part of this people after him, which would cause wars and contentions among you, which would be the cause of shedding much blood and perverting the ways of the Lord, yea, and destroy the souls of many people. So I love that King Mosiah was able to see this, and like he was so wise to like understand the different ways of leadership and different ways of being able to govern a people, you know. Verse 8, like, so he could see, he had that vision, right? Verse 8, now I say unto you, let us be wise and consider these things, for we have no right to destroy my son, neither should we have any right to destroy another if he should be appointed in his stead. Now he's just making speculations of what could happen. Obviously, he's not really saying that that would happen, but he's doing worst case scenario, which is a wise thing to do worst case scenarios all the time. That's something that I do. Like, what's the worst that can happen, right? So says, and if my son should turn again to his pride and vain things, he would recall the things which he had said and claim his right to the kingdom, which would cause him and also his people to commit much sin, right? Because we remember that he was one of those that was walking with Alma and not doing the right thing, and maybe he knows that his sons need to be preaching the gospel and being missionaries instead of leading people, because maybe even King Mosiah knows what it's like to try and resist those temptations of thinking you're above others, right? And probably because he knows that firsthand, he maybe can already see that his sons would struggle with that after they had already struggled before. So it is possible that he, as a father, is discerning the way his children would act based on their previous experiences and their current situations. I definitely think that after we have repented of our sins, or after we are converted, that we need to continue to convert our brethren and our sisters, because it keeps us in that mode of bringing people to Christ, right? It keeps us humble. It keeps us serving the Lord. It keeps us on the right track, right? And and I think that's why my husband, after he started recovery, and after he started working on the things that he needed to work on, we decided we needed to do something different than we had done before. And we shared our story to try and help other people. And I think that really helped us really heal a lot faster and really stick to our plan, because we were putting ourselves out there to help, to serve, and to testify of Jesus Christ and the power that he has in our lives. And so it is a different thing than just not doing an addiction or not sinning. It's different. Like, you can't just not sin and then just live your life. You have to be a totally changed person to not go back to that same pattern. And so that is what the sons of Mosiah and Alma are doing, is that they are preaching and testifying of Jesus Christ and doing those things that are going to keep them away from their old ways, right? And so King Mosiah is probably thinking, if we bring them back and they don't preach, or he doesn't preach, he might go back to his old ways, right? And sometimes we have to leave our home or that place that was where we made those bad choices, to remove those triggers, to remove those temptations. And so it also helps that those sons were no longer there, but they were somewhere else and they were preaching. So a lot of good things that they don't really specify, that they don't talk about here, is things that I notice with like sin and choosing to do those wicked things. You have to remove yourself. You have to change your purpose. You need to have good goals. It's like those kinds of things. Those things and you have to have connection, right? With his brothers and with Alma and with other people. And so like they were getting out of their addiction modes. They were getting out of the mode of sinning. They were getting out of the fog that Satan had them in. So, and when we serve God, we're serving others, and that is what Satan hates. And so they were doing that, and they were being blessed for it. Okay, and strengthened. So then here we go. It says, and now let us be wise and look forward to these things and do that which will make for the peace of this people. Therefore I will be your king the remainder of my days. Nevertheless, let us appoint judges to judge this people according to our law, and we will newly arrange the affairs of this people, for we will appoint wise men to be judges that will judge this people according to the commandments of God. Now it is better that a man should be judged of God than of man, for the judgments of God are always just, but the judgments of man are not always just. Therefore, if it were possible that you could have just men to be your kings, who would establish the laws of God and judge this people according to his commandments, yea, if ye could have men for your kings, who would do even as my father Benjamin did for this people, I say unto you, if this could always be the case, then it would be expedient that ye should always have kings to rule over you. It's like, if Jesus could be your king in this land, then that would be awesome. And then we'll always have kings. And even I myself have labored with all my power, with all the power and faculties which I have possessed, to teach you the commandments of God and to establish peace throughout the land, that there should be no wars, nor contentions, nor no stealing, nor plundering, nor murdering, nor any manner of iniquity. And whosoever has committed iniquity, him have I punished according to the crime which he has committed, according to the law which has been given to us by our fathers. Now I say unto you that because all men are not just, it is not expedient that ye should have a king or kings to rule over you. For behold, how much iniquity doth one wicked king cause to be committed? Yea, and what great destruction. Yea, remember King Noah, his wickedness and his abominations, and also the wickedness and abominations of his people. Behold, what great destruction did come upon them, and also because of their iniquities they were brought into bondage. And were it not for the intervention or interposition of their, or aka intervention, of their all-wise creator, and this because of their sincere repentance, they must unavoidably remain in bondage until now. But behold, he did deliver them, because they did humble themselves before him, and because they cried mightily unto him, he did deliver them out of bondage. And thus doth the Lord work with his power in all cases among the children of men, extending the arm of mercy towards them that put their trust in him. And behold, now I say unto you, ye cannot dethrone an iniquitous king, save it be through much contention and the shedding of much blood. Okay, so this is still King Mosiah's letter to his people. It is super long, but he's trying to help them understand, like, this is what happens. Like, these are the benefits of having judges. This is what happens. Or then it's like, then remember King Noah and what happened there. And then it's like, and this is what would happen if you had an unrighteous king, right? For behold, verse 22, for behold, he has his friends in iniquity, and he keepeth his guards about him, and he teareth up the laws of those who have reigned in righteousness before him. And he trampleth under his feet the commandments of God. And he enacteth laws, and sendeth them forth among his people, yea, laws after the manner of his own wickedness. And whosoever doth not obey his laws, he causeth to be destroyed. And whosoever doth rebel against him, he will send his armies against them to war. And if he can, he will destroy them. And thus an unrighteous king doth pervert the ways of all righteousness. So hopefully the people can see now what's going to happen. At verse 24, and now behold, I say unto you, it is not expedient that such abominations should come upon you. Therefore choose you by the voice of this people judges, that you may be judged according to the laws which have been given you by our fathers, which are correct, and which were given them by the hand of the Lord. Now it is not common that the voice of the people desireth anything contrary to that which is right, but it is common for the lesser part of the people to desire that which is not right. Therefore this shall ye observe and make it your law to do your business by the voice of the people. So it's basically saying, like, not very many, it's like the majority of people want to do good stuff. But then there's going to be those small groups of people that do not want to do the good stuff. But the majority can still rule. And so he's saying, make sure you're making those laws so that they can happen. because the majority will win, even though minority peeps seem like they sometimes are a lot, because the minority peeps seem to make a lot of noise, whereas the majority is just like, we're the majority. Okay, so President Harold B. Lee says this in the April 1972 General Conference. He says, those who have served as public officials soon learn that there is always the imperative necessity of deciding whether or not demands on a controversial issue are being made by a well-organized, loud minority or by a greater majority of those who might be less vocal but whose cause is just and is in accordance with righteous principles. Always we would do well to reflect upon the counsel of a wise king of ancient times. Now it is not common that the voice of the people desires anything contrary to that which is right, but it is common for the lesser part of the people to desire that which is not right. Therefore, do your business by the voice of the people. Let this counsel of that wise ancient king be our counsel to our church members and the honorable of the earth everywhere. Be alert and active in your business and political interests. The great danger in any society is apathy and a failure to be alert to the issues of the day when applied to principles or the election of public officials. End quote. And that was from President Harold B. Lee, April 1972 General Conference. In a nutshell, to me, that just means like, hey, the majority are less vocal than the minority. And so if you're not going to be vocal, it might, like, the minority could win out. So make sure that you are alert to the issues of the day, and then that you are being responsible and electing public officials that align with your righteous goals and desires. And that way the majority will always win out, as long as the majority are still involved. But if we're not involved, if the majority is not involved, guess who's going to win? The minority. And then we can't say anything because we chose not to participate, right? So we need to represent. Okay, and then verse 27 says, and if the time comes that the voice of the people doth choose iniquity, then is the time that the judgments of God will come upon you. Yea, then is the time he will visit you with great destruction, even as he has hitherto visited this land. And now if ye have judges, and they do not judge you according to the law which has been given, ye can cause that they may be judged of a higher judge. If your higher judges do not judge righteous judgments, ye shall cause that a smaller number of your lower judges should be gathered together, and they shall judge your higher judges according to the voice of the people. This is where it gets confusing, because you're like, wait, who's judging who to be a judge? Anyways, and then verse 30, and I command you to do these things in the fear of the Lord, and I command you to do these things, that ye have no king, that if these people commit sins and iniquities, they shall be answered upon their own heads. For behold, I say unto you, the sins of many people have been caused by the iniquities of their kings. Therefore their iniquities are answered upon the heads of their kings. And now I desire that this inequality should be no more in this land, especially among this my people. But I desire that this land be a land of liberty, and every man may enjoy his rights and privileges alike, so long as the Lord sees fit, that we may live and inherit the land, yea, even as long as any of our posterity remains upon the face of the land. Okay, did you hear that? A land of liberty. That sounds like a familiar land we live in. Okay, so just a recap here says, this new system will put the accountability of the people, or on the people. If they commit sins, it is not from a king who has corrupted the laws. King Mosiah had read the records. He knows how easily and how quickly a people can lose their liberty and have inequality. This is what he's trying to avoid. Liberty means freedom from restraint, and the opposite of liberty is bondage. And mankind has experienced a lot of different kinds of bondage. The Nephites in the land of Nephi experienced one kind of bondage under King Noah's reign, and a different kind of bondage under the Lamanites. Mosiah wants liberty for every man. This means that no one is in bondage to another. There's no group deciding how the rest will live. Everyone enjoys their rights and privileges. So that's even better than having that one king. Okay, Mormon mentions more things. So this is Mormon now adding some extra. It says, verse 33, and many more things did King Mosiah write unto them, unfolding unto them all the trials and troubles of a righteous king. Man, that letter was long for me. I don't know. Do you guys read all the letters that come out from your city in the mailed city newsletters? Do you read them all? Hopefully. I definitely do not. I am guilty of that. So anyway, it says, yea, all the travails of the soul for their people, and also all the murmurings of the people to their king, and he explained it all unto them. So he says the king bears a lot. And he told them that these things ought not to be, but that the burden should come upon all the people, that every man might bear his part. And he also unfolded unto them all the disadvantages they labored under by having an unrighteous king to rule over them. Yea, all his iniquities and abominations, and all the wars and contentions, and all the bloodshed, and the stealing, and the plundering, and the committing of whoredoms, and all manner of iniquities, which cannot be enumerated, telling them that these things ought not to be, that they were expressly repugnant to the commandments of God. And now it came to pass, after King Mosiah had sent these things forth among the people, they were convinced of the truth of his words. Therefore they relinquished their desires for a king, and became exceedingly anxious that every man should have an equal chance throughout all the land. Yea, and every man expressed a willingness to answer for his own sins, which is a great step in personal accountability and responsibility, right? Therefore it came to pass that that they assembled themselves together in bodies throughout the land to cast their voices concerning who should be their judges, to judge them according to the law which had been given them. And they were exceedingly rejoiced because of the liberty which had been granted unto them. I think this takes a lot of courage on the part of Mosiah, because he no longer was going to have kings in the land, and he could have kept it going with his own family. He could have made his sons do that. And then they wouldn't ever have to, worry about stuff. But instead, he was humble enough to kind of relinquish all of his authority and disperse it through the judges. So I don't know. That is something else. That totally takes courage. It's like a business, it's like I'm always starting businesses, and I'm hoping that like my kids want to do those. But then it's like, what happens to the businesses if my kids don't want to run those? Well, I don't know if I'd want to keep them going, right? But at the same time, I'm like, but I worked hard for that. So I do want to keep it going, and maybe I need to just find somebody who wants to take over, right? But then that's not great, because I'd rather have my kids do it, because that's why I did it, so that they could have something, right? And so I think it takes a lot of courage to do that. So I love King Mosiah for that. And verse 40, and they did wax strong in love towards Mosiah. Yea, they did esteem him more than any other man, for they did not look upon him as a tyrant who was seeking for gain, yea, for that lucre which doth corrupt the soul. For he had not exacted riches of them, neither had he delighted in the shedding of blood. But he had established peace in the land, and he had granted unto his people that they should be delivered from all manner of bondage. Therefore they did esteem him, yea, exceedingly beyond measure. Isn't that like awesome? That's just amazing. Okay, so we're going to go to 47. That's the last of these here. But wouldn't that be something that you'd want people to say about you? That they did esteem him, yea, exceedingly beyond measure. And verse 41, and it came to pass that they did appoint judges to rule over them, or to judge them according to the law. And this they did throughout all the land. And it came to pass that Alma was appointed to be the chief judge, he being also the high priest, his father having conferred the office upon him, and having given him the charge concerning all the affairs of the church. And now it came to pass that Alma did walk in the ways of the Lord, and he did keep his commandments, and he did judge righteous judgments, and there was continual peace through the land. And thus commenced the reign of the judges throughout all the land of Zarahemla among all the people who were called the Nephites, and Alma was the first chief judge. Okay, so remember, all the people are now back. Remember the people that all came to Zarahemla, and then some left, and then they experienced hardships, and then they came back. And then there was another people that left, the Lamanites that came. And so now this is like a giant amount of people, like tons. And so this was King Mosiah mixing all these people. And I love him because he's like such a bridge builder, you know, and making sure that everybody was able to share their stories so that everybody could like love each other, because connection is like so important for unity, to have that, to know each other's stories. Okay, in verse 44, and thus commenced the reign of the judges throughout all the land of Zarahemla, among all the people who were called the Nephites. And Alma was, oh, wait, I already read that one. Okay, my bad. Verse 45, and now it came to pass that his father died, being 80 and 2 years old, having lived to fulfill the commandments of God. Oh, poor Alma's dad. And then it came to pass that Mosiah died also in the 30 and third year of his reign, being 63 years old, making in the whole 509 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. And thus ended the reign of the kings over the people of Nephi. Now I'm getting sad because they died. They died a long time ago. And thus ended the days of Alma, who was the founder of their church. So it's about 91 BC. And then it says, the red-headed hostess says, both Alma the elder and King Mosiah die, which was the end of an era. The reign of the kings ends and the reign of judges begins. This will also be how, one second, miss. She's going to get me a tissue because I cry when I read my scriptures. Sure, if you would like to bring a tissue, I would like it. And so it says, this will be also how they reckon time. The next chapter will be the first year of the reign of the judges. And then this is how the passing years will be referenced. Oh man, that's awesome. Okay, and then here's a tip for us. It is interesting to note that the next 250 pages, almost half of the Book of Mormon, describe the events of the 100 years before Christ's birth, the time just prior to his coming to the Americas and his time among them. President Ezra Taft Benson taught, in the Book of Mormon, we find a pattern for preparing for the second coming. A major portion of the book and centers on the few decades prior to Christ's coming to America, end quote. Ooh, and that was in Teachings of the Presence of the Church, Ezra Taft Benson, 2014, page 140. Okay, so we're going to read the Read It, Live It, and we'll be done for then. Okay, so the Read It, Live It for this chapter, there were two, but I like this one the best. It says, King Mosiah reminds his people that the way they respond to a situation could have the potential to influence and destroy another. We have no right to destroy anyone's son or daughter. So be wise and consider these things. I love that. Like sometimes we think that our actions don't really matter or that our actions are not being seen. And it is true that everyone makes their own choices, but we have a lot of influence in other people's lives, whether we want to think that we do or not. And so the way that we influence others is so important. And I think that when we can remember our baptismal covenants that we have taken to represent Jesus Christ, to take his name upon us, if we can just remember what would Christ do, then I think that would save us a lot of heartache in the things that we choose to do, things that we choose to say, things that we choose to watch, things that we choose to listen to. And then we would be wise, right? And then the potential of destroying anyone's son or daughter would go out the window because we are just trying to be like Jesus. So anyways, I think that is a really good read it, live it, and love it. So until Alma chapter 1, stay strong, warrior.